Well, hi, I'm John Hart, and welcome back to Mr. America Hart. All right, today I'm sharing with you my tightest diet. And I don't mean tightest diet as in I was getting ready for a show and I needed to get as lean as possible. I'm talking about my tightest diet on a very strict budget. You see, like most bodybuilders early on in my career, I had those times where I sacrificed everything to do what I really wanted to do at the time I thought I loved to do, which was bodybuilding. Didn't matter. Long hours at work, that I'd work only just enough. Okay, so it was my own doing. As far as social life goes, just enough. No more than just enough, because I had to wake up early and go to the gym, right? Any educational things, out the window that went too. You know, you could say a bunch of stupid decisions resulted in me being broke at the time, but the truth of the matter was I was never happier at the time. And so I really enjoyed what I was doing and eating to survive, basically, but also to bring muscle progress, to grow muscle, to support the growth of the muscle, to also keep it relatively clean too. And I mean clean because I had no choice with the dollars that I had allotted for my food. So I'm going to go through it really quick, starting with the protein sources that I had. You'll see it's not exactly the most balanced diet. There is enough protein, there is enough carbohydrates, there are enough healthy fats in there, maybe just enough fiber in there, but a lot of you are going to look at this and go, ooh, a little bit out of balance. But you'll see why I made these choices right here. First, I'm going to start off with the protein sources, and you see right here I have a 12-pack of tuna. Now, for all of y'all who have eaten tuna on any sort of a regular basis, you know a lot of you gag it down. I mean, it's just disgusting if you go ahead and you eat it with nothing on it. Me, personally, I could eat it straight out of the can. As long as I use a plastic fork, I'm okay with it. So I was eating tuna straight out of the can. I'd have it every single day, 1 or 2 times a day. I'd buy one of these guys right here, the big pack of tuna, as much as I could buy, or single packs, but I was averaging about 49 cents a can. And when you're talking about the tuna right here, chunk light tuna packed in water, it's the cheapest one you could find. And at the time, that's all I cared about. However, I find out much later on that it was probably the one that was the lowest in mercury out of all the choices that I could have made as far as tuna goes. So I'm glad to find that out much later on. But yes, we're talking about this 12 can of tuna right here would have cost me about $6. So that was that. I'm going to hold off on the turkey. I'll get to that in a moment. Because the tuna, I really liked. The eggs, I had eggs every single day. I really enjoy eggs. I still do to this day. I wouldn't really overdose on them, but I was eating the whole egg and I would have just enough to supply the calories that I needed, and I'd have these once or twice a day, but eggs were definitely in there. And eggs at the time, again, were pretty inexpensive. Now it's a little bit more expensive, but back in the day, I could get a dozen eggs for about 49 cents. So again, inexpensive. I'd buy dozens of those things. Protein sources. Third, I'll get to this one in a moment. You see, I keep pushing this one off. Third, weight gainer, whey protein in the weight gainer. I was after calories with this right here. This became worth buying, okay? When you buy a good weight gainer that you can digest really well, I'd have it before I would work out. I'd mix it at the time I drank coffee. I'd get a big mug of coffee and I'd put in 2 scoops of weight gainer in it, and I'd head on off to the gym. I'd be down in that thing right before I got into the gym, and I'd start training and blasting away. And that did me really, really well and supplied enough calories in there as well. Weight gainer is cheaper usually than buying pure whey protein. So, of course, because it has some carbohydrates in it, usually not the best source of carbohydrates, but these days I can afford a little bit better. So I get ones that have better sources of carbohydrates. But back in the day, it would have a high carbohydrate source to it already. So I'm already moving into the carbohydrate arena. And it would be whey protein. So I'm getting a little bit of an assortment of protein in there, right? And the weight gainers, those things would cost me something about $30 a month. So that only would come out to about $8 a week. at the usage I was using it for. Now, this one right here, I'm getting to the big one for me, turkey. Ground turkey, any form of turkey. Again, any of y'all who buy meat regularly, you know that ground turkey, this is a 93 lean, 7% fat. I would buy a relatively lean kind of turkey because I wanted to gain the most protein from it. But the thing about turkey was it was very inexpensive, okay? And a package like this, if you got a 1 pound package, even one that's a little bit bigger than it, this is a little bit over 1 pound, it's about 1 1/3 pound right here. You could buy a package like this for about $2, even less, because it just wasn't the most popular meat going. And I was forcing myself to eat this, okay? Turkey, it was my substitute for chicken because chicken was too expensive at the time. So I went with the cheaper version. I went with the turkey. Red meat was pretty much out. I would hardly ever get any of that. I would have to have a gust of money, a little upswing of money for me to go out and get the red meat. But the turkey became a staple, an everyday staple. These are my everyday foods that I was eating every single day. The negative effect of the turkey on me, however, is to this very day, I cannot eat turkey. I'm disgusted by it, okay, on its own. I have to have this thing buried in some sort of a chili sauce or, you know, mixed with pasta and sauce thrown on it. I can't go there. And sometimes that's what happens when you're, you know, in a little bit of a poverty situation and you have to rely on certain foods. Fresh ground turkey, yeah. And unfortunately, it does get to you at times with certain ones of them. That was the one that got to me. And so I'm reminded of this story that I heard about the musician Prince when he was alive. And he was a lot younger. There was a point in his life when he was just flat broke. I mean, stricken with poverty. And just to survive, he had to eat Quaker oats day in, day out. That's all he could afford for food was Quaker oats. And as a result, as he grew up, every time he saw the Quaker oatmeal guy on the bottle, on the box of Quaker oats, it made him nauseous. And he just remembered all of his past. And so it brought him way back. And that's what happened to me with the turkey. I just really can't stand it, the taste of it, unless it's masked with so many spices and other things like that. So let's move on to the carbs. Okay, I'm going to start on my left over here. Jasmine rice. Boiled up white or jasmine rice. See, this is the thing. Buying it in bulk, when we're talking about getting a 5-pound bag like this, or 10-pound bag, or in my family's case right now, we get the 50-pound bag because our household, we eat that much rice, jasmine rice specifically. But years ago, this was a staple in my diet because of the calorie content, the clean carbs that it has. I was trying to get as many clean carbs and calories as I could at the time. So a 10-pound bag or a 5-pound bag, this thing right here would cost about $2.50, a 5-pound bag of jasmine rice. So I'll put that right on over there. That was one of my favorites. And of course, in the clean gainer right here, there's also carbs, as I mentioned before, glucose polymers, maltodextrin, of course, all types of carbs, a multi-blend of carbs. The other big thing, big choice for me, sweet potatoes. I don't like russet potatoes. I don't like baked white potatoes. These things right here are delicious. I had all the spices, salt, sugar, not salt, sugar, but salt, pepper, garlic, onion, the other one, that's cinnamon, Ceylon cinnamon, the best cinnamon you could use. And I would cut open those potatoes and, you know, those sweet potatoes and put some cinnamon in there after they were baked for a while and then close them back up and put them back in the oven so it would bake into the sweet potato. And man, oh man, my favorite. So even though I was on a restricted eating plan because of finances, I was still making the best of it, spicing everything up, doing the best that I could. I did spend a few dollars extra on the good cinnamon to put in there, the Ceylon cinnamon. And then, of course, I always looked at this right here. This is organic marinara sauce. But prior to this, years ago, when I didn't have the money, it was just plain old marinara sauce that I would use. And why? It's a pretty low-calorie sauce. There you go, a low-calorie sauce. And I would use it on especially my ground turkey. I would use it on eggs. I would use it on the rice, just to flavor the whole thing up. And these days, of course, I can afford to get the organic, so I get the organic. And then, now, keep in mind too, why tomato sauce? You don't see any vegetables over here. I really did have a lack of vegetables going on at the time. So I had to kind of rely on our tomato, the primavera type of sauces that would have multi-vegetables in here as well. So for a couple of bucks, this thing here would cost, about $1.89, $1.85, $1.50 back in the day. And that would be enough sauce to get me through just most of the week. And then, so that would satisfy me with my vegetables. I didn't have any other options at the time, it seemed. Bananas, my only fruit that I really could get that was really cheap. Don't have to buy it organic because of the thick skin that it has. So organic bananas are a waste of time because of the thick skin. Pesticides don't get through it. So regular old bananas. They're cheap, they're inexpensive, and they're a great source of carbohydrates as well as the potassium and other minerals that you need to be healthy and to have a healthy heart, cardiovascular system. So these things right here would go for, 10, 12 cents each. I mean, they were pennies. So I'd buy a bunch of these things to go for it. So I'll put up on the screen a total of the kind of money that I would spend in the course of a week. And you can see clearly that I really wasn't spending a lot. I focused entirely on my training, my rest, my these basic staples of food. And then I would go to work. And I went so far, I mean, I was getting a little bit out there, because I went so far as one point, I just figured, hey, I don't need a car. I lived right in between my job on one side and the gym on the other, both within walking distance. So I ended up selling my car at one point, and just so I wouldn't have to spend money on gas and insurance and things like that to cut down on other expenses. So I was really, as a young man, for a brief time now, I didn't do this for over 2 years, man. I made it maybe a year and a half or so in that position, that financial position, because I just couldn't tolerate it after that. But doing that type of a diet, the broke diet, all of that, I found other ways, cut down in other areas that I just didn't care for. And then I spent the money on things that I did care for, and I enjoyed myself with my training. So that's it. So maybe some of y'all out there get something out of this, help you on your bodybuilding diet when you're on a really, really, really tight budget, or if you just don't have that money to get a lot of good food, you're going to have to settle on having some foods that are just basics to satisfy the macronutrient needs. And to wrap this up, I'll tell you this much too. I used a multivitamin. I used the cheap Centrum multivitamin at the time. I couldn't even show this to you right now. Why? Because I don't have any in my house right now. I don't use that stuff anymore. I went ahead and I use the much better vitamins now and minerals now. But back in the day, that's what it was. Just a simple multivitamin. So that's it for today. From my heart to you, John Hart. Hey, before you go, off to my left, you're going to see that disc that pops up right now. That's the subscribe button for my channel. Please give that thing a tap, and YouTube will let you know every time I have a new video pop on up, and you'll be the first to see it. Down below, off to your left, you're going to see a thumbs up button down there. Please give that thing a tap so it turns blue. It lets the YouTube algorithm know how great you like this channel. See you soon.